Hello, my friends of the Psychedelic Renaissance. It's Tom Hatsis, your psychedelic historian, and this is the first ergot-inspired novella. Before getting into this little tidbit from Psychedelic History, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Psychedelic Historian YouTube channel and make sure you hit that little bell icon so that you're notified every time I post a new video. Also, it'd be great to link up on Instagram. Find me at Psychedelic Historian. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Now, I'm sure most of you know this. However, if there were a few of you new to psychedelia and psychedelic history, I just wanted to say at the outset that ergot is a fungus that grows on diseased rye grain and is the precursor for LSD. In our own day, many pieces of art, literature, and music are inspired by the psychedelic experience. In most of these cases, the artist is well aware of the inspirational power unleashed by things like LSD, cannabis, or mushrooms, and consciously uses these medicines and others to facilitate the creative process. But other times, the artist is taken by surprise. Let's travel back in time to September 1885.
1885! September 1885!
Yeah, that's what I said, September 1885.
May I continue, please?
And focus in on one Robert Louis Stevenson. Stevenson was a novelist who suffered from tuberculosis. Besides LSD, one of many medicines derived from the ergot fungus is called ergotine, which was used to suppress bleeding in the lungs, one of the more dangerous symptoms of tuberculosis. And so Stevenson's doctor injected him with ergotine in hopes of finding him some relief. However, the ergotine had not been properly prepared, and on top of the usual tuberculosis symptoms, Robert started to suffer convulsions and visual disturbances. His worried wife, the magazine writer, artist, and firearms and tobacco enthusiast, Frances Stevenson, wrote a letter to his peg-legged pal, William Ernest Henley, who some believe was the inspiration behind the character Long John Silver from Stevenson's 1883 novel Treasure Island. This would go on to become the name of a rather regrettable seafood, if you could call it that, fast food chain, but more importantly, it did inspire the name of everyone's favorite disco-era porn star, Long Dong Silver. The gods would go on to bless this literary trend by merging the restaurant and porn star in the form of this mozzarella stick. Frances's letter was first discovered by two professors at Glasgow University, George Addis and Robert Winston. Therein, a frantic Frances describes Robert's mad behavior, which she concludes must be due to the ergotine flowing through his system. At one point during Robert's ordeal, Frances grew alarmed by her husband's tormented screams and crying out in the night while he slept. She describes the scene in a letter to Robert's cousin, Graham Balfour. In the small hours of one morning, I was awakened by cries of horror from Lewis. Thinking he had a nightmare, I awakened him. He said angrily, "Why did you wake me? I was dreaming a fine bogey tale." The fine bogey tale he was dreaming just so happened to be the first transformation scene for what would become the plot of his most famous novella, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, making it the first story that we know about to have been inspired by LSD-like symptoms as the result of taking corrupted ergotine. Stevenson outlines the experience in an essay he wrote for Scribner magazine in 1888 titled A Chapter on Dreams. I had long been trying to write a story on the subject, to find a body, a vehicle, for that strong sense of man's being, which must at times come in upon and overwhelm the mind of every thinking creature. For 2 days I went about racking my brain for a plot of any sort. And on the second night I dreamed the scene at the window, and a scene afterward split in two, in which Hyde, pursued for some crime, took the powder and underwent the change in the presence of his pursuers. All the rest was made awake, and consciously. All that was given me was the matter of 3 scenes, and the central idea of a voluntary change becoming involuntary. Now, as it turned out, Frances actually hated the story and burned the first draft that Robert wrote. He subsequently spent the next few days on a cocaine binge rewriting the tale. And it's a good thing he did, The novella became an instant bestseller and actually saved his family from ending up in the poorhouse. The story was also adopted for the stage for what were called in those days shilling shockers, essentially the Victorian era's precursor to our modern horror films. If you're interested in more stories like this one, please check out my latest book, Ellis D. the Wonder Child, The Golden Age of Psychedelic Research in the 1950s. Well, my friends, that's all I have for you this time, and like always, I'd love to thank you for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a share, and subscribe to the Psychedelic Historian YouTube channel, and don't forget to find me on Instagram. And until next time, I'm Tom Hatsis, your Psychedelic Historian, reminding you that you free your mind by using your brain. Peace.